Boom. Hey guys, what's up? We're live. Giovanni is in first. He was here at 5:30, a little bit early. But he also says that he's going to be. He was just leaving work, so may not be able to come in. It's good to have you, Giovanni. Thanks for chiming in early. So yeah, We're back on the Ornithopter tonight, and we've got upgrades. And boy, I'm nervous about this because to do this set, this photo etch set, you have to literally gut all of the structures, like the supporting structures inside the main body of this thing. And I'm going to try to go through some of that as we go along here. So I did some of the photo etch work before the night. I'm going to start showing you what the kit comes with. Actually, two kits. I got one that's the internal and external stuff for the Ornithopter itself, and then the other kit I got is a figure set of resin figures, and they're just brilliant. They're really nice figure sets that will be to recreate a certain scene from the movie where there's a spice harvester that's about to get consumed by a worm, and they're rescuing the crew, and they're trying to board the Ornithopter, so they're kind of running up the loading ramp, so to speak. So anyway, I think I showed some pictures of that last week. If you guys didn't see that, go ahead and watch that episode after this one, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I will show some pictures if need be. So let us go down to. Sorry if I'm sounding kind of congested. Literally, I was fine up until like an hour ago, and I started sneezing and got all plugged up, and now I'm kind of feeling. I don't feel bad. I'm all stuffed up. So I apologize. Anyway, so I've got a mess of stuff here. I'll zoom in here in a second. These are all of the resin pieces, and all of these came on big blocks of resin. I thought they were printed items, but they're actually cast. And I've also cleaned them. I put them through 24 hours of purple power, and then I scrubbed them, washed them off. So they are ready for whatever we need to do, paint or whatever. So let me just zoom in, I guess, and we'll start looking at the instructions of this kit. So like I said, there was two sets. This is the one for the Ornithopter from Green Strawberry. It's called the Fruit Pack. I think it's kind of funny, but it comes with all the interior exterior grills and details there as well, landing gear stuff, but most of it is all in the cockpit area. And the going back, I think if we talked about one of the previous episodes, I was saying that this structure that was inside the body, this is basically for the sockets that hold all the wing pivot, the sockets, everything like that. This has to be completely removed, and this is why I'm so kind of nervous about this, because there's going to be a lot of structural modification just to make this photo etch set work. And I'll show you the sheets that came with it, some of the stuff that I've done already. So this I had to actually drill out because I glued some of this together before I knew about this photo etch set. So I had to disassemble the whole thing, drill those pieces out so I could remove these individual sockets. So you see these guys here, these are the wing sockets. They have like a little kind of a geared tooth section, and this is so they could mesh together and pivot slightly inside the body. But all that's going to be cut away. That's not going to be a functional thing anymore. So we got this set, and this came with 3 sheets of photo etch. Now, some of mostly of this has all been removed because I've been building a little bit of it. I'm going to show you those in a second. The second sheet here underneath this is some of the interior structure. You can see these look like the wing sockets here, but this is going to go, it's a framework that goes over this third sheet, and this is most of the interior pieces. And then this frame will go on top of that to give it some kind of, give it some texture. There's also some footprints here where some of these resin pieces go as well, because there's some like jump seats, fold up jump seats that need to go in place, and that's what all these are here. And there's also some other little grills and things, but all that stuff's got to go inside, and I'll show you in the instruction sheets here, individual sheets. I'll show you what they show so far. But first page here I've already done. This is an original. This shows the kit part that needs to be. It shows what needs to be removed or modified. They give you some good detailed instructions, like you need to cut this piece out. So this whole little ridge here had to be cut off. All of this top green area needed to be sanded away, and that's where we get this. So that's this piece right here. And this is the box assembled. There was actually two pieces that go to that. You fold up the box, and then you've got this piece that lays on top, and that's what gives it all that detail there. So this is actually the ramp, the loading ramp as it is, or I don't know if we call it a loading ramp, but it's basically where the passengers can climb up from behind, to get inside from the cockpit or into the cockpit area. So that sheet I've discarded because I've pretty much done with that. So the next one, I've been skipping around a little bit because there was some other work that needed to be done. There's a lot of these little jump seats you can see here. This is all of the resin seats, and each one of these is identical. I had to cut out little areas for the seat belts, and then those will be assembled. Let's see if I can get that in frame a little bit. It's upside down to you guys, but you can see all of these are the jump seats. There's 6 of those, 3 on each side, and then you got 5 seats in the front. And these are the little photo etch stands for each one of those chairs, each one of those passenger seats. So you see how small this is. Little boxes with some details, like little structural details that are all folded up. I got 5 of those I had to do. Let's see. Nick says, "Hey, Nick, how you doing?" Evening, everybody. Evening, Nick. How are you? So, again, I'm sorry for being kind of stuffy. My nose is kind of plugged up a little bit, but one of the things that I was talking about just a second ago was, if I bring up like this is pretty much the whole entire interior. This is one big giant piece that needs to fold up and fit inside this, the front half. These are going to fold up in here. Okay. But you see these little outlines, and that's where these guys go. So each one of these is where will be glued in place, and that's a resin piece. And those will be obviously painted and stuff like that. But each one of those is where one of those jump seats go. So I've got 6 of those to deal with. Let me get these stacked back up here, and so they don't get messed up. The most difficult part, I think, is just going to be getting this whole interior piece, because it's one big giant crew cabin that's going to be assembled, folded up, and I'm going to have to paint it first and then fold it up and install it. So you can see here, again, we were talking about parts that need to be removed. This is where some of the seats are. You've got the very front where the pilot sits. You got 2 seats here, and then there was 2 back here. But we had to cut this entire section off the back. You can see. Oh, we got a question, Giovanni. Go ahead and ask if you got it. I'll see it. So you can see the red area. I had to completely cut that off. That's going to be gone. This is the only piece remaining, and that's because once we fold this all up, this is going to go over the top of that. And I'm assuming it kind of sits like this. It looks like that's the only way it really kind of sits level. I think it will glue straight down just like that, based on where the bends are. This front section here was a completely separate piece that had to be glued on very delicately, because there's no tabs that kind of fold underneath it. It just had to be glued together. So I'm fortunate that I had the CA filler. It's like a little bit of powder that you can kind of squeeze on there. It comes with a little thin nozzle, and you can squeeze it on there with the glue still wet, and it'll kind of fill in some of that the gaps and stuff like that, and make it stronger. Giovanni says, those photo etch parts, do you prime them with regular surfacer? In the past, yes, but I did buy some PE prep, which is kind of like a primer for photo etch. So that's on the way from Michigan Toy Soldier Drive. I'm still waiting for that to show up. I think it's supposed to be here on next Monday. We'll see. Hopefully, if everything shows up on time, it'll be here then. But I have used regular surfacer. There is a resin primer that I've used as well. But with photo etch, I think you need to really prep it with something. I typically haven't in the past, and you just got to be very careful because it scratches very easily. But yes, a photo etch primer is probably a good idea. So you can see some of the pieces you have to cut off here, including, and this is the part that's really scary, is all of these little ball sockets for the wings. You have to cut off the back section of this. And so let me get my glasses on here. You can see I've actually started this one, so I'm going to finish it. But I've got a few here that I've already cut off. You end up with this. So you got to, it's just basically going to make this entire area flat in the back. So you got the little geared area here. You got to cut that entire thing off. The nice part about it is at least there is a ridge on where the ball joint is that kind of guides the blade. And I've just been using this, hobby saw, and I'll just finish off this one while I've got it here and see what I'm talking about. So I've had to do 8 of these damn things. And I've only got, looks like this will be the 5th one completely done. So using that ridge as a guide, letting the blade follow that, I can get all the way through it. And again, I've already started this one because I wanted to kind of show you the process of this. Almost all the way through. I'm going to go back to the other side and just finish. Yeah, it's almost separated. Just need to get the blade in there. Yeah, it's really close to coming apart. There's actually a couple of steps to this. Once you get, okay, so once you saw that off, and you got this piece that is discarded, so you end up with a little bit like this. And then I need to take one of the wings, pop this in as far as it will go, because then I got to cut off that little nib that's sticking through, and that's part of that wing structure. So that tip of that gets cut off. Saw through that. There we go. So now I've got kind of a flat surface here. So then what I did is I took this really aggressive flat file and then go over this a few passes, not too much. I don't want to take off too much gel. I just want to make sure this is a very flat surface. So I'm going to do that a few times. All right, then we end up with something like that. Okay, a little bit of extra material here around the edges. Just going to take that off. It's mostly just kind of fuzzy, but now you've got a nice smooth flat surface. And the reason this has to be flat like this, and I'm going to show you in a second, this is the part that's really kind of got me nervous. Whoops, I just dropped my file. Sorry guys, that was really loud. It pays to have tempered glass under your chair though, because that was a metal file and nothing happened. That's great. All right, scared me though. All right, so get rid of the dust here in the filings. Okay. So these, if you look at the photo that I found online. Okay. I will show you this. This is some images that I found from the movie. This is looking backwards, okay, from the cockpit through the back of the Ornithopter. So this is looking like out that loading ramp. Okay, what's up? Seacross, how you doing? Did I miss anybody else? Nope, that's about it. Is that how you say that? Seacross? Seacross? Good evening, my friend. I appreciate you. So this is looking from the cockpit back. You can see two of the jump seats on either, actually four. If you look further back, you see the second set of jump seats there. They're kind of folded up along the walls. But those 8 round discs, those are where the wings of this thing attach. Okay. So by taking this entire interior structure apart, each one of these discs has to mount inside the photo etch, and then there's a flat surface here because all these came on a block, so I had to cut them out, cut them off with the saw you just saw, and then I used that same file and I filed these down nice and smooth, nice and flat, tried to get them as flat as I could, because then one of these, as the wing comes in, it's going to, from the backside, it's going to glue directly to that plug. If you look at this sheet here, let me take this top one off. I think you'll see what I'm referring to. Yeah. Okay. So this is looking from the outside in. So all this detail is on the inside, but these are the flat areas that stick through the outside of that photo etch, and that's where each one of those wings has to be directly glued on that flat. So it's important to get this as smooth as possible in order to. Oh, what's up, Dwayne? Sorry, I didn't realize that was you. I should have recognized your face on your little thumbnail there. So it's important to get these as smooth as possible after cutting everything down. So these are not going to move. They're not going to pivot. I may even have to cut these little pins off. I haven't figured that part out yet because those come in from the out, or they have to go through the body from the outside. So those may end up getting trimmed off as well. So I guess technically I could swivel the blade slightly and then maybe glue it in place when I get the right angle. But for all intents and purposes, these are going to be glued directly to the backs of these resin pieces. And then I don't know. It's got me sketched a little bit. It's got me kind of worried because it's a complete, I think it's the most modification I've done to a kit to accommodate any kind of photo etch. So let's show you the figures real quick, at least part of them, because they don't have their arms on them, but these are really, really good. This would be Josh Brolin's character, and he's going to be on the ramp helping one of the other guys get up the ramp, and I can show you the screenshot of the scene. So you've got that guy, and then this is the guy that's trying to get up the ramp. He's standing at an angle. But these are really well done. I thought they were printed, but they're actually just cast. But the casts are really, really well done. So the scene is right here. I'll bring that up. So now you can kind of get an idea. You got him, Brolin's character's up inside, got his hand out. He's grabbing the other guy who's kind of leaning. So you've got this figure here with his legs out, kind of in this fashion there. So from the back of him, you can see him climb up the ramp. So that's why I bought this, so we can kind of recreate that. And this was the little box that those came in. I think I showed everybody this last week, so you can kind of see there's 4 figures. So you got the pilot, which is the one on the top there, and then to the right of him is one of the other passengers in one of the seats. And then the other 2 will be coming up the ramp. Yeah. Scary stuff. So anyway, tonight I'm just going to be, I'll do some photo etch if I can, but most of it is going to be gutting the body here. So here's the main piece. This is the left-hand side of the body. It matches this here. You see all these red areas. This is everything that needs to be removed. So I've got to take this entire piece out, all of these pegs. Everything needs to be completely smoothed down. It doesn't need to be perfect because the photo etch will cover it up, but all of the structures there that are normally holding this thing together are going to be removed. And so it's just going to be the very outlying, edges that are going to glue this whole thing together when it's done. Wait, what is this? What did I miss here? Guys, you're talking. I'm sorry. I was talking and not paying attention. Well, what's up, Julius? So you'll build everything and dry fit it and glue the wings at the end. Probably. That's a very good question. Yeah, I will probably dry fit. Well, I'm going to have to paint the interior first, probably before it's completely folded up into place. And then it will be installed as a unit when it's painted. I can kind of equate that to when I did the Solo Edition Millennium Falcon. I had a photo etch set for that, and the little gun turrets on top and the bottom of the Falcon, they were photo etched, and they folded up like kind of like a trapezoid kind of pyramid, octagon, I guess maybe. And so I had to paint them when they were mostly flat. I started to kind of bend them into place, but I left them open all the way and mostly so I could paint all the different panels and then folded them up and install them in the Falcon. So I'll probably have to do the same to this. I'm going to have to paint these, the entire interior, all the seats, everything, because at the end of this, it shows it like installing the entire cabin as one unit. So that's just got me worried. It's going to be very, very touch and go. Very, very, it's a very tedious process, I think. Let's see here then. Nick says those figures are nice. I wouldn't want to be the one painting them. Yeah, they are pretty small, but they are very detailed at 1/72 scale. I'm actually very impressed. Even the ones that came with the kit aren't bad, but they're just very static, positions. They're not posed in any. They're just kind of sitting in the seat. So at least this way, these are more of a realistic looking natural position. We got unloaded. Can't comment anymore. Good night, everybody. Okay, Giovanni's driving home from work, so he's not going to come in. That's fine. So let me grab a single cat whisker brush. For what? What do you need a whisker brush for? For dusting something off or dusting your cat off? What do you need a whisker brush for? Or do I dare ask? Anyway, so thank you for, especially to Dwayne, because he's the one that provided me the information to get these photo etch sets and stuff, and the figure set for this. I just happened, like I was talking to last week, I tuned in to George's live stream, and I just happened to catch the very end of it. And someone said, yeah, there's a photo etch set for it. And I just tuned in right away. Like, wait, photo etch? What? Because I certainly love a complicated kit, right? This is probably the most extensive modification I've done with any photo etch project. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to start cutting some pieces off here. I guess I could do at least one more of these. It's just kind of loud and noisy. But I will take the saw here, and I'll show you how we take one of these and do it from beginning to end. I found the easiest way is just to kind of hold it. And then, like I said, if we zoom in here, you can see this ridge, that ridge where the larger ring, that's what you need to keep. So I use this as a guide, and that helps, it goes along the edge of the blade and actually helps it cut a straight line. As long as you just take your time and don't go too crazy. So I'll do one more of these, and then we'll start cutting into the body. Let's see what I did comment I missed. Sounds janky. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Let's see what we got. Sounds janky. Yeah, it seems like you have to get rid of most of the support structures, that basically hold everything, especially like this interior piece. This whole block, I never really realized I was going to have to remove it. So I glued everything together, but I had to drill all the pins out just to separate it enough to get the sockets back out. And that's really what holds the whole body together. I just can't imagine how sturdy it's going to be when we get to the point where it's going to be like, okay, we're going to install this whole interior section, and then have to also close up, the body and make it fit right. I mean, even some of the stock photos that show the photo etch installed, it doesn't look like it fits perfectly. So it's going to be interesting to see. This could be an entire disaster, but I want to try to make sure it doesn't turn out that way. But we'll see. Come on, what's going on with my comments here? I thought I should be able to see them. It's not like automatically scrolling. Hey, one whisker paintbrush. Oh, got you for the figures. Yeah. I will probably. It will probably be hand painted, like you're saying. I think what I'll do first is I usually airbrush the flesh tones to at least get those down, and then everything else gets hand painted because they're just so small. This scale is just shredding my instructions here. Caught the edge of the blade down there. Normally I'd move them out of the way. I guess I should have done that first, because I'm kind of rocking the blade to cut like one side at a time rather than sawing through the entire piece. Almost through. It should separate. I can feel it like it's wanting to separate. There it goes. Okay. So it creates quite a bit of dust. I think, like I was talking about either last week or the week before, the plastic on this kit is kind of soft, as well as the resin. And I noticed that the resin was not too terribly hard to deal with either. So it's kind of nice. It wasn't too hard. It's soft enough that it sands pretty easily. And that's what allowed me to get those discs nice and flat. So what I'm going to do after each one of these I cut, I just grab one of the wings and stuff it through here, so then I can cut off that nib, because there's a little bit sticking through. And that way each one of these will be, I'm not going to, if it doesn't get the same socket, I may have to do a little bit more sanding just before I glue it in place. But I'm going to assemble each one of these, and then I can use I'll put the whole thing on the file like this and just file it all as a unit. That way each piece is uniformly smooth and flat. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's what you end up with, a solid. So there's just going to be a big glob of freaking super glue down there. And I like the VMS stuff. I'm really satisfied with how it's performing so far. That's one of the things that who told me about it? Was it Giovanni? It wasn't Giovanni. It was gosh, I'm lost for words. I'm terrible at things again. Nigel from New Zealand. He's the one that turned me on to those VMS CA glues. They make some really good, strong, flexible CA glues that are great for photo etch stuff. So I've got a couple more products coming from Michigan Toy Soldier. They're on their way. Like I said earlier, they should be here maybe Monday, I'm hoping. And one of them is the debonder. So in case you do get a little bit of glue on the photo etch that you don't want, you can use the debonder on there, and that will take that excess glue off and That way you don't have to worry about making a little bit of a mess. Because when you put photo etch together, sometimes when you get two pieces that you need to glue, especially like this little box, I basically glued everything from the inside because there's no place to glue it out here. I just had to fold it all together, flipped it over, and then I ran a bead of the glue down inside there to glue everything together. So I'm going to start cutting some pieces out here. What's going on with my comments feed? It's not automatically scrolling, and I keep missing comments here. So I think you keep those side pins, and that's how you'll set it in the frame. No, actually, most of the side pins are gone. Like, I'll show you a close-up of this. There's like a few, very few. Like even here, like this is a top piece. This goes right in the center, right behind the cockpit. You can see the 4 sockets here on either side. But this all had structure in here that I had to scrape off, and most of it I've been trying to cut off with some like little side cutters like this, chipping off the most of it, the bulk of it, and then I'm using a 4mm chisel to kind of go through and just peel off the remaining. Now again, this is all going to be covered up by photo etch, I think. If not, then I will have to sand this a little bit better and paint it too. But once I get, geez, I am missing my probably do the balls in there too. Yeah, those will be, and like I said, maybe I might have to cut these pins off. These are the original pivot pins on either side of this, but these aren't going to be used. So I may have to trim those down, because if they come in from the outside, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. See, like from the outside, those pins get in the way. They're made to come in from this direction and come in from the inside out. But if these are supposed to be installed last, then that's impossible, because I won't be able to get them in. So I think I'm going to have to cut those off too. It doesn't show you removing those, but I'm not going to remove them until I know for sure. And as far as like all the interior, let's show you this. So let's see if I can get that on camera. So here's this piece. This is this piece right here. So you see all of that, all the red needs to come out. And those are all of the locator pins, everything. It's kind of crazy how much of that structural support needs to be removed. So I've got to remove this entire ridge here, this rectangle, this pin, this pin, this pin, this pin, this pin, this pin. Most of this curved ramp here needs to come out. And again, I even commented before I had the photo etch that there's just like an open area that was kind of boring. So it's nice to see that that's going to come out, because that whole entire box is going to fit right in here. And if we look at this, where the loading ramp, or where the ramp that you walk up goes. Okay, so I put this in place. I'll try to hold this without it falling off. Okay, so this goes in right here in front. Let me do that first. So this is the bottom or the front of the cockpit seating area. So you can see that there. Then this plugs in right here at the bottom of that. So if we install that, okay, now you can see where that ramp goes up into the back. And this has got to go in something like that. Now it's not perfect, obviously, because it's just sitting in there. But that is where all the seats are going to go. You got one up front here, two here, and two here. And the whole back is just open. So it remains to see how much, and then there's stuff that wraps all the way around all of this. And that's going to be the challenging part, is getting all that photo etch to lay in exactly the way it's supposed to. So I keep losing these little skid plates. I didn't glue any of this together, so they They do pop off every now and then, but as long as I don't lose them, I'm good. What did I miss again? Side pins, the wings, ball things, not inside the frame. So you align them. You install the balls first, then insert the wing. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Even though I inserted the wing and then, using that as a guide to cut it, I think I'll glue the ball in place first, the socket, and then the wing I can still pivot because it's a pin. So I'll be able to go in and pivot the wing, get it in position, and then glue it in place probably at that point. At least the pivot part. And the hinge, they'll still fold back because that's not going to change at all. So at least as long as I get the angle right coming out of the body, when they're extended, then it should be able to fold back just as easily. So later, fellas. Okay, Nick. See you later, my friend. I know it's late for you. All right. So anyway, as we move forward here, I'm going to just start cutting the bulk of some of this stuff out. Again, some of it, it takes time with the chisel to kind of clean everything out. But as far as getting most of this out, I should be able to cut the majority of it off. Gosh, it's painful to do because it's like, oh my God, there's so much to trim off here. A lot of these pieces are going to take some time. I've already trimmed off this. I got to trim that off too. There's like a little L-shaped support here that's got to come off. I took off this little pin here, and that was where the wing logo goes through. So there's still enough there to support that from the outside, but I had to cut the pin back on those little eagle logos so they don't stick through. Because it looks like the photo etch is supposed to come right up next to the outside of the body here. I'll trim it as best I can and sand it accordingly, but I don't think it needs to be perfect because most of that's going to be covered up by the photo etch, I think. The only way I'll know for sure is when I go to dry fit everything. Use one of those ultrasonic blades might help cut those areas versus using a razor saw. Oh, you mean like the sockets, or are you talking about cutting out this stuff? Because I'll just trim off most of this with like that. I can get the bulk of it off and then cut off the rest. So that's that one stays. So this is the only pin here that stays, is at the bottom. I almost started cutting it out. And I have to look again because I did make the mistake, like on the top here, this top piece, I was supposed to leave these two tiny little pins in the corners, and I ended up cutting them off, not realizing that those were supposed to stay. So I'll have to fix that when the time comes. All right. So this is going to come out as well. And these are just little diagonal cutters. I originally bought these from the Snap-on dealers, thinking they might work well as nippers. They do the job. They're good for doing quick cuts, but they're definitely not good for trimming close to, keeping cutting the nibs off of things. It's mostly good for what I just did, just cutting the bulk of it off, and then I'll fine tune it with my chisel. And the 4mm chisel works nice because it's got a wide enough blade that I can lay it flat on, control it and flat on the surface, and then just peel off the excess material without cutting too deep into the plastic that I don't want to remove. One of those ultrasonic blades versus using ships or a razor. So yeah. It's one thing I don't have is an ultrasonic blade. Nor do I have a 3D printer. I just don't have the room for it. Nor do I think I could deal with the odors of a 3D printer. So, because I don't have a way to vent it. So, I just don't own one for now anyway. We shall see. All right, so that needs to go. I got that whole piece off that one there. I got to take this one off the top. First, I think I'm going to get this out of the way because this has got to go. Pieces are flying. Trying to keep the mess to a minimum, right? Okay. So this is also going to go here. And then I can try to get as close as I can to this. I'm just going to take that out in pieces. We'll have to find that later. That piece went flying. I don't need it anyway, so. But then I can get along the bottom here. Yeah, this still got me nervous because, again, this is the most I've had to modify any kit for any kind of photo etch install. There's no going back once you start down this road. Let's see, this one's got to go as well. I'm trying not to deform the original plastic either that I need to keep in place. Now, there's a cutoff here where this back kind of ramp, you see right here, it doesn't fully go around this bend. So I'm not sure how far back to cut it. I'm just going to kind of guess, and hopefully it'll be right. I guess I'll leave more material. I can always take more off with a file or something. So I'm going to just guess that is how far back to go. All right. Let's go along this edge. See if I can't get these pieces to come out easily enough. This is up tight to the body, so it's kind of hard to get. There we go. All right. Got most of that out. So that pin stays. This whole front section stays. That's gone, that's gone, that's gone. Oh, I got to get rid of this. This one here goes as well. All right. And then the rest of this comes off. Get those pieces out. I think that's it. No, I gotta get rid of this too. Yeah, there's like little structural supports in the mold. Those also have to be trimmed away. It's a lot of ripping out. Yep, it sure is. I mean, you can see all of this, everything that's red needs to be cut away. These are the foot pedals for the pilot, and then these are the handles that the pilot holds on to. And all those, the pieces that are cut off here are just what normally goes through the plastic. So I was able to just trim those off because I'd already glued them in the original cockpit, but because I had to cut them out, I just trimmed them off right up, along the base of the lever. Or even the seats. I did everything. I just cut everything as close as I could to the original line, the original body there. All right, so now I got most of that material cut away. Now it's time to start cleaning it up. This is where it gets a little tricky. Still going to try to trim as much as I can, make it as painless as possible here to get any of this extra plastic out. If I can get, there we go. have a big pile of plastic left over when this is over. All right. So I think that judging by the load, that ramp that's in the back, that we'll have to use, because I wasn't sure if they needed to use this kit came with two landing gear sections. You've got the extended section here for landing, and then you've got a retracted version for in flight. But I wasn't sure if this piece was going to be used for this modification or not. But it looks like it has to be the open one because the ramp needs to be down. And if you notice, like, see how the other one is longer, because that's the extended ramp that comes down in the back for people that need to run up into the crew cabin there. So I'm sticking with the open version. I'm pretty sure that's the one, especially because there's going to be people on the ramp, and those two of those figures are going to be on the ramp trying to get back in. Yep, I think that's about as good as it's going to get for now. It's all right. We're just going to start trimming some pieces here. So I'm using a 4. These are two of the chisels I got from, because I couldn't find the 3.5 and the 4 in BMC. At least they weren't available in the US, or they just stopped manufacturing them. So I did find these two from USA Gundam Store a couple years ago, and they are very good quality. I think the handles are slightly different. So you can't use this chisel with like a BMC handle. You have to get the handle for the individual, the USA Gundam Store version. But the quality seems very good. They seem to stay sharp. They hold their edge pretty darn good. And especially like this 4, it's great for this kind of stuff because you're not going to be scribing a line with a 4mm chisel, so it's good for smoothing surfaces. Like once I get most of this plastic out, I can go over it like this and just kind of scrape it down. And then if you look at how smooth that is, and we're talking right here, this spot right here. So all that, it looked like this before with these, the plastic structure. And I'm just peeling it off with the edge and then smoothing it out by running the chisel down it. But be careful because they are sharp, and you don't want to be like pressing on something like this and have it jump off and get your finger, because you will get cut. And I've done it. That's why I'm saying it. They are very sharp, and they do hold their edge well. You would swap the legs with the open ramp. Doesn't look... Well, no, the open ramp is the one with the legs are out. The closed ramp is for, in flight. But the problem is when trying to do this, see, I'll show you that picture again. This image here, this is from the movie. You can see that extended ramp right there. And plus the angle. With the other one, it's going to be tucked too far up into the back, so it has to be... Oh, you're talking about like using this here and swapping out that ramp piece? That was another idea I had. Maybe that's what you're referring to, like taking this piece off the top. Let's see if we can even do that, because it's kind of confusing how it doesn't fully tell you which one to use. It just says do this, cut this part, and it tells you the original part. So if I took this and put it in place, I guess it does fit. Okay, so we could use the closed landing gear, but with the extended ramp. But the only problem is that this angle is not right, because if you look at these pieces here, the angle of the ramp is not the same. So I'm going to have to use, maybe I need to use a combination of this, the rear of this ramp or I could take these arms off and transfer them to this ramp. I think that's what I have to do. that because they fit exactly the same. It's just that these are extended and then this one's not. So maybe if I take these off, put them on this ramp because this has the proper angle, then I'll be able to. Oops, I didn't stay on at all. Then I'll have the landing gear will be tucked up, but the ramp will still be open. So I think maybe I'll have to do that. I'll have to experiment with that and see. That's a project for another day. We'll just put that back on there. Yes. Yeah, didn't you build this kit already, Dwayne? Or you were talking about, somebody was even saying, commented on, I did a short on YouTube with some early photos of this. And someone said, this might actually make me buy this kit again or buy another one and do it over again. But didn't you say that you had already built one? Or did you do it with, and if you did you do it with the photo etch or not? So I'm starting to figure out, I think that's what I'll probably have to do with that landing gear is take some of the pieces that are for the open version and the closed version and combine them. If they still fit, and hopefully, the pegs and everything are the same. It's just a matter of transferring pieces over, and then I can get the right look. Because it looks like in that scene, the scene is there, but let's look at it again, because if you look at the ramp is down, but it looks like the legs are retracted. So maybe that's what I'm talking about, is about getting that ramp in the right position, but also having those legs pulled in like it's trying to take off and fly. And it's not for landing, it's for you built it, but not the photo etch. Okay, so this is a learning experience for both of us. Batman from comic books. What's going on? How goes the Gundam building? Well, we're not building a Gundam today, but we are doing the Atreides Ornithopter from Dune, and we're also installing the green strawberry photo etch and figure set with it. And right now, I'm just gutting the interior because this kit has to be heavily modified to accommodate the photo etch. So I'm trying to just, I'm removing these structures, but I'm really trying to keep the chisel from straying off and taking out material that I don't want. So I know it's kind of tedious, but it's necessary to, in case any of this is exposed. I'm not sure if any of these interior panels are going to be visible once the photo etch is in there, because like I said, there's a giant piece of photo etch, and if we look, let me see, I can bring that out again. So this, I believe, goes in somewhere here, I think. So you can see how the holes line up. I think this goes in here like that. So a lot of this, and then this is the roof section. So all this wraps around. It's going to be folded along these lines, and all this is interior that's going to be or visible later on. But I don't know how it's going to fit yet. That process is going to be definitely a tedious learning process. The chisels. The chisel craves flesh. Yeah, no, shut up. I don't want to take a chunk out of my finger. Thank you very much. I've already done it, actually. This thumb, I caught a piece the other day and was like, yep, that's still sharp. And like I did with that other piece. Once I get down to nearly smooth, I can go ahead and just scrape off the minimum bit that's left to kind of smooth that out. Yeah, I never even realized there was a photo etch set available until he told me about it, because I was just ready to throw it together the way it was. And it's still a really nice kit. You don't have to do the photo etch for it. I mean, I think photo etch definitely has its place, and it enhances a lot of model kits if it's done right. And this is very complicated, so it's going to take some time to get it to fit right. I don't want it to look like the stock photos. And in fact, I'm going to show you that what I was talking about earlier. In one of the stock photos, it shows like this one here. So if you look at this, this is looking up the ramp, and even the landing gear is also retracted. Or actually, it looks extended in this picture. But what I'm referring to is this gap here and here. That bothers me because the photo etch, that just tells me the photo etch isn't in right, because this should be up against the body. Like that line is the edge of the photo etch, and then this is the model. So why is there like a 1/16 of an inch gap between the photo etch and the body? My goal is to eliminate that altogether. I want it to fit right. And it may take a process of dry fitting it, taking it apart, dry fitting it again, taking it apart. I mean, who knows? It's the problem is you can't keep bending photo etch back and forth, because eventually you'll experience metal fatigue, and you get parts breaking that way. So especially as how thin this photo etch is, you can get away with doing a couple of bends, like back and forth. Like I had to, when I was doing those little pieces for the seats, those little stands, they weren't bending because some of the details were right up against where the bend line was supposed to be. So it was difficult to get it to bend perfectly every time. Sometimes it would bend in the wrong place. Even when I used my little photo etch bender, you clamp it down as hard as you can and use a razor blade to bend it. But again, because those little structures were so close to the edge where it was supposed to bend, you could see where it would. So I would straighten it out and do it again, straighten it. You only get away with doing that a couple times. After that, you're in trouble. You might end up breaking the photo etch into two pieces, because it's just like taking a paper clip. You bend it back and forth enough times, eventually it breaks. You experience that metal fatigue, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. So we'll see when we get there. This is going to be a more complicated process now that we're adding the photo etch to it, but I'm excited at the same time, but I'm also very nervous that it's going to be problematic. We'll see. Some of these are old pin locations. They're just, it's just a matter of peeling off. Once I cut most of it out, and I'll take some sanding sponges and some files and touch these areas up too once I get done with the whole section. It's going to take a while to get through this. I hope this isn't boring everybody, but this is definitely part of the process of doing a mod this extensive. It would be easier if some of these surfaces weren't irregular, like some of these angles. You got half of that, whatever structure you're trying to remove, going one direction, then it takes a turn over a ridge. So you got to trim everything in sequence, make sure you don't gouge out too big a piece of plastic that you don't want removed. But I imagine most of it has to be fairly smooth in order for those flat pieces of photo etch to sit nicely without deformation. I think Dwayne's trying to jinx me here. He wants me to chew my finger. Before this night is over, he wants blood. He wants to see my finger get a chunk out of it. Distressed I came seeking advice. Why? What kind of advice? You mean for Gundam models? I mean, you can go ahead and ask any question you want. I will answer it as best I can. Mr. Batman, go ahead. Ask whatever question you want. It doesn't have to be related to what I'm building. I will gladly try to answer anything for you. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, I could blame the group here, because when I was getting ready for the next project, I opened it up to the room and said, okay, guys, what do you want me to build next? And this was one of the 5 or so kits that I had chosen. And everybody said Ornithopter. I mean, not everybody, but at the end of the night, it got the most votes. So this is why we're building this one. Instead of me always choosing the next build. Sometimes I do. But other times I like to put it out to the room and say, okay, what do you guys want to see? You know, you guys are the ones taking the time to hang out and show your support. So why not give you the opportunity to decide what I build next? Unless I really want to build something, then it doesn't matter. I'm going to build what I want. But in this case, you know, I actually brought this kit out one of the previous times when I was building something new, but it didn't get picked that time. But this time, I think. And now that we've added the element of, you know, detail parts like the photo etch and stuff, and the figure set, it's taken on a little bit more popularity. So go ahead, Batman. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask, unless you've left the room already. Joining us from Twitch over there. This is one of the more open, flatter areas of this. So once I get the bulk of this off, I think I'll be able to take a sanding sponge and clean up this pretty nicely. It will actually be nice and smooth, I think, when we're done. Ooh, that was close to my finger. See what you did? Dwayne, trying to make me bleed. I'll do my damnedest. I still got to work tomorrow. You know, I still got to work on cars. Man, I need my hands. Can't be doing this. Can't be bleeding. Oh, there we go. I also have a chisel sharpening jig, so if these do get dull at all, I can always go back and sharpen them. It's adjustable as far as the angle, so I can get the right angle. And the sharpening stone, I ordered 3 sharpening plates from Amazon, so I've got a 400. I think, what do I got? 400? Let's see. I got 3. I got a 400. Let's see, the 2. Yeah, that's the 4. So I got a 400. I got a, come on, separate. 400, a 1500, and a 3000. So those seem to work really well. As far as you start off, if you need a 400 grit to start, but it works well with the other higher grits to really get a nice refreshed chisel. But if you get a good quality chisel, carbide, that's not going to dull very quickly, should last for a long time without needing to be sharpened. You're laughing because I almost cut myself, didn't you? Oops, gotta be careful. Got this little tube running down the side here. I may end up popping that off. I think I'm going to. I'm doing a lot of cleanup here, and this little tube down the side here is not glued in, and it keeps popping out. And I'm afraid I'm going to break it, so I'm just going to remove that there. I'll do the other side. I'll do the same. Then I don't have to worry about it. So we made some pretty good headway in this middle section. I still got this whole piece to get rid of here, and then I got the remaining here. So I'm going to finish the back off here, and then we'll go to the front. Some of this is just a matter of pushing the file in there, and then trimming off the other side when it's up against a groove like this is. There was a pin socket here, so it's just a matter of, I've got to get rid of that too, but also got to get that ridge that was the structural support. You're out of here. I'll watch the rest of tomorrow. Excited to see how it goes. Thanks, Dwayne. I appreciate you, buddy. I really do appreciate you turning me on these upgrades. It's really made this whole thing even more interesting than before. So yeah, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for coming in. I'll do my shout out like I normally do at the end of the stream. I always try to shout out everybody that took the time to make a comment, say something in the chat. So I'll make sure you get your mention in there. He's going to come back in tomorrow and fast forward to where I drew blood. I'll fast forward to where I cut myself. Hopefully not. I mean, I got pretty tough hands. Like I said, I do work on cars all day long. Pretty tough hands, but I got the scars to prove it. Cut myself more than enough times. All right. All right, we're almost done with this last little back section here. Just slowly getting the rest of this ridge. Still got a ridge here. It's one thing for sure. If you don't have it flush, you can tell right away when you go to try to use it, scrape that surface flat. It will not. It definitely won't. It will kind of leave an identifying mark there because it's not, or you haven't fully chiseled it down to that flat surface. So I'm running into, because I can't quite see the edge because it's under this lip, so I've got to take it incrementally until I can see it. This is the tail section, and it kind of takes a turn. So not only am I scraping, a flat area, it's also taking a bend around a corner. So I'm trying to make sure I get all of that off. All right, I think I got most of that. I'm about ready to run the sandpaper over that, but I'm going to go get this last section off here if I can. It's going to be a lot of plastic debris around. Piece of that off that time. All right, so this whole piece has to come off. This is going to be difficult because it's right up against the edge here, so I've got to go Let's see, maybe I can get some of it with this. I got these round sockets here where the wings go. I got to be careful not to damage that. Oops, don't mess with my figures. So this weekend, the plan is on Saturday to go to a model train show. And not because I'm necessarily into model trains, but it might be some vendors there that have some nice diorama products that I can use. So it's going to be nice to go check it out and see. We're in need of a good store here. When I was in California, we had a train store. It was a nice one. And man, did I buy a lot of end scale stuff in there when I did the Officer Down diorama back in 2013. It was nice. I bought pretty much one of everything, it seemed like, in their end scale section. Because that's the closest I could get to 144, even though end scale is more about like maybe a 160 scale, but it was close enough. It was negligible. I could get away with certain buildings and things that looked good against a 144 scale model. But we don't have a lot of that up here. There used to be one. I'm not sure if it's still open. I think in Kirkland. Haven't been to in a while, so I'm not sure if it's still open. But it'd be nice to see if there's some vendors there that sell some good diorama stuff. All right, almost done with this side. Getting there. Got a few more strips to take down. Anybody else building anything interesting? Let me know in the chat. Take this opportunity to say like, share, subscribe. You know, it doesn't cost you anything. Tell your friends, subscribe to the channel. Ooh, I just remembered something. I'm going to grab some of my stickers real quick. There's a couple of my coworkers wanted some of my stickers. So before I forget, I'm going to go grab them. Supposed to do it earlier. Anyway, there we go. Now I won't forget them. Get them for tomorrow. Needed to get some more made. I was going to because we were supposed to have an IPMS show coming up, but it looks like that got canceled, so I didn't place another order, unfortunately. What is that? Bent that over. Gotta be careful. I'm gonna put a little tiny dab of glue on that. There's just a raised detail on one of these pieces, and it must have been leaning on it a bit hard, so I straightened it out. I'm just gonna give it a little dab just to make sure it stays in place. Hopefully I don't jack it up while I'm trying to finish this last bit in the front here. Just making one hell of a mess, I tell you. Get rid of some of this debris. Get rid of the rest here. All right, I might actually just move these aside. There, now it's a little easier to probably see what's going on too. Well, those are actually the pegs from these pieces. These little detail pieces come in, they were put in from the outside. So the peg holes, I was trying to figure out what I was cutting through. It's like the pegs from the other side where those pieces are coming through. Actually, what I'm cutting off. I noticed that like some of those details, that pieces that were installed on the outside are actually coming through the body. So as I'm chiseling this stuff off, I don't know if I glued those in. I could probably remove them, but then I'd have to cut down those pins anyway. Just like I did with those eagle logos. They go through the front there, but I had to cut those back about by half because they'd be sticking through into the cockpit area and probably interfere with the photo etch alignment. So almost done. There's a little bit of a complicated angle here. It's going to take a little bit of extra time to get this trimmed down because it takes a turn right here at the bottom. This is the only peg that stays. The rest of them are all cut off. So it's only like 2 or 3. That's why it just seems like after doing this, that this whole thing's going to be kind of flimsy. I got to really be careful when putting it together. All right, let's see if we can do some sanding here. Need a micro sander, yeah. Might be right about that. One thing I did do is I changed my microphone location so it's not attached to the bench anymore, so I can shake and bake the bench all day long and not transfer that noise to the microphone. So that's good. It seems to be working. Hope everybody can hear me okay. It's not in the same spot next to my face, but it's close enough that I think everybody can still hear just fine. I don't know if those, I mean, a micro sander sounds like a good idea, but I don't know. This stuff's pretty soft. I might be maybe too aggressive for it. I don't know. That was a receiver. Nothing left of it. Those aren't attached either. These little exhaust grills, I didn't glue those on either. I tried to glue minimal stuff because I said, snap this together just in case I needed to do anything, later on, make easy painting or whatever like that. But that was before I knew about the photo etch. So I'm discovering that some of the stuff that I thought I had glued, I did not. All right, I think I've got enough of that off. When the photo etch goes over it, it's going to take another dry fit to see if there's anything else I got to really carefully sand because I'll take the 400 and smooth this out because I don't know if any of this will be exposed or not. I think most of it is supposed to be covered up with photo etch. And then I've got to repeat it on the other side. Yay. Lovely, right? All right, we're almost done anyway. All right. So let me grab this piece of photo etch again. So I think, yeah, this is going to, I don't know what's the inside. I guess this would be the inside. Yeah, this is definitely the inside. So I think that this piece goes, this bottom section here, again, this is all one giant piece. And there's fold lines here. So this is all supposed to come together. But I'm pretty sure that, does that sit way, no, it can't sit way up there. So I think this little cutout square is for that right there. I think this is kind of how this goes. Yeah, you see this little cutout. Now this would be on the other side, obviously, but that matches this bend right here. So I'm pretty sure that's the whole side wall of the cockpit. So boy, this is going to be interesting to try to get this all lined up. So it's important to see that this floor piece here, whoops, I'm going to pop that back on. Don't want to lose that guy. My neighbor's dogs are going nuts right now. I don't know why. They are very unruly animals that tend to bark all day long. I think their owners don't. Their owners really need to find a place for them to go during the day, because it seems like they're always just barking constantly. All right, so that goes there. And then this, whoa, just bent that all out of whack. Got these little thin fingers off the back here. They're really easy to bend, so it's kind of, so if this sits like this, that can't be how that goes. I may have to cut more off the back of that floor piece, because if this sits on top of it, it looks like it's supposed to go over it. Oh, I've got another piece I got to trim off. Just noticed. Yeah, I didn't trim that. I got a little socket here I didn't trim off. Let's see, if this sits, it seems like it wants to sit up on top. You see how this is raised? I think I need to cut this back or sand this back so this fits. I don't know. It doesn't seem like, it's kind of difficult to tell. I think it goes right like that. So if that's the case, then why? Because it doesn't seem like the angle's right. You see how it's going across these two sockets here? I think it's supposed to fit below that. It doesn't really clearly specify how that fits. It just shows it going together. I'll go down through yeah, see, so you've got, once you get this entire interior section assembled, seats and all, it's the whole thing. It just says, oh, just put it in. You can see the floor piece here, the original floor piece, that front piece, this one right here, right? And then you've got, this is just supposed to go right in. It's like, how does that sit over the top of this and still fit? I don't know. It's going to be very touch and go. It's going to be a learning experience for sure. All right, let me put this away for a second. because I still got a little bit more cleanup to do. I think this goes underneath here, yeah. Trying to keep this photo etch protected so it doesn't get damaged. Any little bend or kink or anything cause you a problem. Giovanni says, I stabbed myself once with a 125 scriber. Yeah. Luckily it was a thin one, yeah. Doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how big they are. Even this thing with a 4mm edge, it's still give you a good bite if you get it just right. One more little piece to trim off here. If I can get it, I'm going to try to get some of it with this. Not really going to happen. Trying not to go into my finger here. There we go. Better. Give it a little sand. Yeah. Don't worry about that. There's this socket's not going to get used. It's whatever's remaining. So I think what I may have to do is just eventually cut out that piece of photo etch, that large piece, and kind of test fit one side of it. Just kind of lay it down to see. I mean, there's two pieces here. This is another thing that complicates the whole thing. So I'm going to bring up this again. So you got this large piece of photo etch here, right? Take this out of the way. Okay, so you got this large piece. And now you also have what looks like this structure. No, it goes this way. I think this is how it goes. So this has to lay on top of that. So you got this framework that fits over the top of these pieces here. Well, maybe, yeah, it doesn't go, it's on each side. So this is one, I think, yeah, this goes this way, just like this. So now you can see how complicated this is. So now, and then those discs, these guys are also have a little alignment key, and they lay down just like that. And you get one of the smaller ones here. Also has a little alignment tab, and that's supposed to go something like that. I mean, it's obviously not perfect because I'm just holding it by hand, but so you got that piece, then you got this one that lays on top of that, and all that has to be glued together. And then folded at the same time very neatly. So it's gonna be fun. I mean, I like the detail. I like the reason why they did it this way. It's really very nice. I mean, you can see everything lines up. So when this is laying down on top of this, all these intersecting lines line up, you know, with the piece on top of it. So probably what I'll have to do is apply the slow glue to the back of this framework piece, because that dries slower, and then very carefully stick it on there and get it in position before it wants to set up. I think that would be the only way it would work properly. So just like that. So I can't really lift them up together, but you can see if you zoom in, this is like what I was going. And then of course I got to paint everything before I fold it up completely. So it's just very, very complicated. I'm really hoping I can manage to pull this off. It's going to be interesting. Yep, that goes behind that. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of the show here now. I just realized what time it is. Let's see. How do you get the dust out of the panel lines after sanding? You can use an old toothbrush. I'll put this on old toothbrush. How do you get the question was, how do you get the dust out of the panel lines after sanding? Scribe first, second sonic, third wash. The panel lines are still have dust. Yeah, I would just go in with an old toothbrush and just, brush them out. You can also use thin cement if you want. You can run, don't get a big drop on the end of it on the brush, but if you run a piece of thin cement, a little down that line, it will crispen up those lines, and any of that dust will be just be integrated into the panel line. But I would clear it out first with an old toothbrush if you have one. Get as much as you can out, and if you still need to help clean up the line a little bit, then use a little bit of thin cement. But that would be my answer for that question. Almost time to go, but I got one question yet. Well, there's your question. I hope I answered it for you, buddy. Let's go down the list here. We'll start here. Actually, let me bring it up to my mug. So Giovanni was in first at 5:30. It was way early today. Then we had Nick, close second, and then Dwayne was in after that. Julius shortly after that. I don't think there was anybody else in the chat, it would seem. But yeah, again, thank you to Dwayne. And of course, Angel popped in somewhere in the middle. Julius, what brand is the chisel? Oh, Julius, sorry I missed your question earlier. Oops, this one here. Those are from USA Gundam Store. The 4 millimeter, 3.5, and the 4 millimeter were from them. The rest of the ones I own are from BMC. But the larger sizes were just never available, at least in the US. I couldn't find them anywhere. So I know they make them because when you buy a BMC chisel, you buy the handle, you get like a sticker sheet that has like all the different sizes on it, so you can label your chisel handles. And there's always a 3.5 and a 4 millimeter on there, but you never can find a chisel for it. So I just ended up buying those, and they are good. They're very good. I think you can still find them. Hopefully you can still find them. It's been a couple of years, so I would check USA Gundam Store, see if they still sell them. Then we had Batman come in from on Twitch saying hello, but I think I missed him before he took off because he was going to ask a Gundam question. I think he was gone already, unfortunately. Sorry I missed it. But anyway, for everybody that stuck around to the end, I appreciate each and every one of you. As I say always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. And we're going to keep plugging away. I don't know how much. I'm going to try to do some more cleanup work as far as getting that other side cut down, all those structures that have to be removed on the other half of the body. We'll see if we can get that done. And then, I don't know, next is going to be maybe priming some stuff and trying to paint some of those interior pieces, maybe get the cockpit done. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because it's all got to go in as one unit. So it's going to take a thought process to get through and step by step, make it right, make it work. But anyway, again, like I always say, thanks again for everyone. I appreciate you. Everybody, like, subscribe, share if you can. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out. I really, really do appreciate you. So be good humans, you guys, and we will catch you next time.